Hi, I'm Marin, and these are 6 films you should watch if you love interior design. So I work in interior design right now, but I had a whole past life as an academic. So watching movies and engaging with media that has a really deep connection to interior design is still a really big part of my life and something that I really enjoy. I love watching all types of films, but these are 6 films that have a really strong sense of interior design, and these are films that I go to when I need some kind of inspiration. So the first film I want to talk about is Amelie. I really love this film just in general, but the interiors, the sets are so charming and they're so full of life and they're so cohesive, and they also take place in like normal settings, so like bedrooms, kitchens, bathrooms, like a typical, French home. It's very stylized, but it feels approachable in a way where you could like implement a lot of these color schemes, a lot of the attention to detail, the fabrics. All of these are so rich, and there's a really deep sense of warmth that really contributes to the character of Amelie, but is also just like a really fun and inviting space to inhabit. And I think this is a great film to watch if you're trying to bring some of that into your own home. The second film I would recommend is The Royal Tenenbaums, which is a Wes Anderson film. And there is this specific zebra red wallpaper that makes a few appearances in the film that since watching this, I can't get that wallpaper out of my head. It made such a deep impression on me, and I really love the styling of this film. Of course, is just like iconic Wes Anderson, like who doesn't love or doesn't recognize. But I think there are like specific interiors elements that I wouldn't say are necessarily lacking in other films, but in this film specifically, like the interior design and way that interiors and homes are decorated is not only important to the movie, but is also just like a deep source of inspiration, the sort of like eclectic academic type feeling. I think the color pink throughout the film and in home specifically is a really prominent like theme or characteristic of this movie, and I have kind of been averse to using pink in my home, but after watching this film I was sort of like, I feel like pink could be a really prominent or like successful accent color if used in this particular way. So it was really inspiring to watch from a design kind of angle, but also just some of the like eclectic, charming choices that are made for the interiors really reflect the characters, but also are like so like approachable elements that you could bring into your own home if this is a style that resonates with you. The third film I want to talk about is The Age of Innocence. This is such a fantastic film. I mean, all of these are films that I just genuinely love, but like the interior design throughout this film, unlike Royal Tenenbaums, it's not an approachable sense of interior design that I would say you could bring into your own home. But this is a film that I would watch for inspiration, for color schemes, for just like really interesting, lavish, ornate furniture, fabric design. There's just this sort of lushness that is so attractive throughout this whole film of New York high society, 19th, early 20th century sort of sensibility that I think a lot of homes are really lacking in, like this sort of inclusion of detail in like every element of a space. But that's something that you find in this film, and while it's not something that I necessarily want to implement in my own home, I do find it just very inspiring to watch and like visually pleasing. And even though I'm not going to incorporate like every single element of the interior design of this film, if I'm feeling I am lacking inspiration or I feel stuck somewhere, I feel like watching a film like this or looking at interior design that is very different from kind of what you typically gravitate towards can sort of get you out of a rut or make you think about things in a different way. And I really think Age of Innocence is able to do that for me, but I think also for like a more contemporary audience that's used to seeing interiors in like one specific way. This can sort of broaden your perspective of what interiors can be. The next film I want to talk about is one that I just recently saw, which is Joachim Trier's Sentimental Value. Being a Scandinavian film, there's a really deep attention to Scandinavian design throughout the film. The home in the film is like a very central character or like part of the story, and so it just makes sense that the interiors reflect how important that home is. I don't want to reveal anything, but there's like a distinct change in the home that reflects the sort of importance of interiors and how they're really crucial to the development of the characters. There's something really elegant and restrained in this film as far as the interiors go. It feels like a classic Scandinavian approach to design. It's minimalist while also feeling very intentional and full. I've always had a really deep appreciation for Scandinavian design, and I feel like this film really reflects that sort of sensibility in a very contemporary way. I think if you want to think about balance and kind of like the importance of restraint in interior design, this is a really great film to watch. Deviating from Sentimental Value very intensely, I next want to talk about a 1920 silent film called The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. This is definitely not like a typical interiors film. There really kind of are no like interiors in actuality in this movie. But there are these really incredible sets that reflect this sort of surrealist, highly stylized, modernist approach to set design. And it kind of creates these other worlds through painting these sort of like flat surfaces and making them become three-dimensional, making them come alive. The way that this film plays with shadow and light, with angles, architecture in the film, with like sharpness and softness, these sort of like juxtapositions all throughout the film are very stylized and so inspirational in creating this sort of like cohesive, surrealist fantasy world. And I find it really inspiring to see this level of artistry and attention given to spaces. And when I watch this film or other films like it, like highly stylized silent films, it really makes me want to bring that sort of attention into my own design practice and how I think about space in general. And I don't know, when films take you to interesting or different, unique places, it kind of just freshens up how you think about your space. And that in and of itself, I think, is a really valuable design practice. Okay, I could talk about so many other films, and maybe I should just make a whole series about great interior design in films. But the last film I want to talk about is The Taste of Things. I had some other films that I was bouncing around, talking about for this video. I landed on The Taste of Things because I feel like the importance of food in the set, like obviously the film is all about food and that's a main part of the plot and styling and everything. How food somehow like adds to an interior space is really fascinating and lovely to see. It's just, you love watching things being cooked, things being served, food styled, and like filling a kitchen or a table is so satisfying to see. And it really just makes you think about like, how could I arrange food, or the way that I'm like thinking about food in my kitchen, on my dining table. Like, it makes you think about it in a different way. And I think that's one of the really powerful things from all of these films, and from this film specifically, is if it makes you think about space in a new way, then it'll add to how you're thinking about your own home, your own like sense of interior design, and that's like a really valuable thing to do. Food in this film is so beautiful, but it also pairs amazingly with the furniture, the tables, the kitchen sets, like all of it coheres so well together. And yeah, it's just made me think about how like food acts as a prop. It's a beautiful thing in our lives, and we should integrate it into our interiors, as kind of wild as that seems. Okay, those are 6 films that I love and that I watch for interior design inspiration. I'm so curious if you've watched any of these films and what you think about them. And I also want to hear what other kinds of films that you watch or that make you feel inspired to think about interior design in a new way. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.